What is going on, you guys? Rochelle here. Today I'll be bringing you the second part of my coding tutorial series. Today I'll be covering a thing called data structures. Alright, so in today's tutorial I'll be covering data structures, and the structures I'll be covering are arrays, objects or dictionaries, and vectors. I'm going to be showing this tutorial in C++ this time because one of my subscribers has asked for it, so I'm trying to accommodate, but I can go into a more in-depth C++ tutorial next time and maybe do a little example. Alright, so the first data structure is an array. So arrays are basically declared like this, where you tell it what type it is and then how big you want the array to be. So if you want to store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would say int, and then you would say size 5. So an important thing to remember about arrays is that arrays start with the first element at index 0. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the indexes would actually be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Arrays are useful for a number of things, and one example that you could use it for is if you were to make a lottery simulator and say there was 100 participants, you could put all of their names into an array, and then you could pick a random one, and from there you would have your winner. So that's one use case for arrays. Another thing you do with arrays is you can store another array in it, which is called the 2D array. And this is useful for making grids for video games. And obviously there's other uses as well, but that's the first one that comes to mind for me. Alright, so the next data structure is an object, a dictionary, or a hash map. And I say that because those are all different names that this data structure is called. And the difference between a hash map / object and an array is that the indexes are actually defined by you. So instead of it being by default 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you could have it be name, and then the value could be John, and then you could have a key called age, and then the value could be 23, so you could add more descriptive keys, so it's easier to tell what everything is, instead of just designating that index 0 is the name and index 2 is the age. Also, if you'll notice, you can mix and match types in objects, and you can't do that in arrays. And the last data structure I'm going to cover are vectors. Vectors are pretty similar to arrays, but instead of having a static size, it's able to be dynamically allocated, which basically means that if you thought that the user was putting in 2 numbers, but they ended up putting in 3, it wouldn't be a big deal. You could just push it on, and you wouldn't have to do anything crazy. So you can just keep pushing on elements, and that wouldn't be a problem. You can parse through all these data structures by using loops, which we haven't covered yet, but we will cover in the future. And one thing I did forget to mention about all these data structures is how to actually set values in them. So for an array, the way you would do it is you would have A, which is the name of the array in this example, and you would say the index that you want to set the value for, and then you'd set it equal to the value, like so. Now, for a dictionary or object, it's different in each language, but in C++, you would do this. So you'll notice something about the hash map is that it actually looks a lot like the way you would set an array, except for you can see that potentially the key could be a string and the value could be an int, instead of the key always having to be an integer. And to set values for vectors, it's a little bit different. So to add and remove elements from a vector, you'll use the function pushback to add an element. And using pop will remove one, but you won't get the value back. If you wanted that, you'd actually use the method at. And that method will take an integer where you can specify which element you'd like to receive. And vectors actually have a lot of predefined functionality, and you can look at your language's documentation to find that. Alright guys, so that's a very basic tutorial about data structures. There's a couple more I didn't go over, but I think these are the ones that are probably used the most. As always, don't be afraid to consult your language's documentation to find out more methods that are available for your data structures. If you have any questions about that, you can go ahead and send me a comment, and I'll try to help you out as best I can. If you guys like this tutorial, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more tutorials, please subscribe. If you have any suggestions for tutorials you'd like to see, go ahead and leave me a comment below and tell me what you'd like. I'm considering doing a series where I just make a simple calculator, but in a bunch of different languages, so that everyone can get a little example of different language snippets. I'm not sure what you guys think about that, but that's what's coming up unless someone tells me otherwise. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.